This episode of the Leap Forward podcast is brought to you by Bridge LT, leaders in conversational learning and innovation. Through AI role plays, technical simulators, and comprehensive training programs, Bridge LT is revolutionizing the future of corporate and enterprise education.
On this episode of Leap Forward, we're joined by Russ Younghusband, Global Automotive Director at GTAC, to explore the challenges and opportunities in the world of digital transformation. With his expertise in automotive technology and rugged computing, Russ discusses talent retention, AI integration, and the future of automotive innovation. He also shares insights on the global trends shaping the industry today. Let's take a closer look at the ever-evolving automotive world. I'm delighted to be joined today by Russ Younghusband, who is, according to my sources, an industry veteran. I'm not sure about the veteran status, Russ. I think that but I certainly know that you're a legend. Welcome to Leap Forward.
Thank you, Justin. Nice to be on here, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're honoured to have you as a special guest, and you're here with us from United Arab Emirates, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Good old Dubai.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Nice and hot here at this time of year, as you can imagine.
You've been working in rugged computing, and I want to know what rugged computing really means. That sounds very exciting. And automotive for more than 25 years. You've been working with global OEMs and right across the value chain. You're currently the Global Automotive Director for GTAC, is that right?
That's right, yes, absolutely.
And you're sort of responsible for the overall strategy of basically positioning them as a supplier to the industry with a particular focus on after-sales digitalization initiatives.
Exactly that, yep.
So that's a really, really interesting kind of topic that I want to get into. But before we do that, perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about your career journey to date.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, so... Well, I was thinking about this before I came on for this podcast, and it goes back over 30 years actually in IT in general. So I can't tell you I remember every moment of that 30 years, but it's certainly been a certainly interesting journey. And I kind of got into the kind of the IT mobility, a good 25 years ago, working for a very well-known organization. But my time didn't start with automotive, actually. It kind of started in other areas of how field mobility could support field workers, be more efficient, more productive. But I've also had a lot of experience in things like the public safety, into defense at some point as well, into other areas. So it's been really interesting because, when you're focused on these industries, and of course you get to really learn what goes on. As a member of the public, you only see certain things, but once you get behind the scenes, it's really interesting. You start to think about how technology can support people out there in mission critical positions, and so on and so forth. So started back then. I ended up halfway through a 20-year spell with the organization, taking more of a focus in automotive. And at the time, it was when, from a diagnostic point of view, the vehicles were being repaired on proprietary big lumps of machinery to kind of help the mechanics and technicians try and solve those issues. And then it became abundantly clear that having some sort of mobile IT strategy would really play a big part. So we were fortunate enough then to secure a number of the well-known brands that you see on the roads today, with the hardware portion of their diagnostic strategy. And we work closely with some of the big notable tier ones in putting together the packages that also allowed them to present those on a global basis there. So did that. Then I ended up running their European sales organization and CIS organization for a number of years. And then just at the 20-year mark, I decided time for a change. So There was an opportunity to come over to the UAE. So as you said earlier, that I'm based over here, and support an organization really with looking at how software and digitalization, the digital transformation of how OEMs and their networks operate was a key area. Lots of legacy systems out there, lots of people using paper, manual processes, and of course, consumers are getting much more intelligent and they're expecting much more from the organizations they're buying from, especially when it's a high ticket item like investing in a new vehicle and of course the aftercare of that vehicle. So I did that for a number of years, and we had a couple of big contracts, with some notable OEMs. Reached a point, COVID hit, and like many people, it kind of gave everybody a chance to take stock and decide, what else could be done, what else could we do, and I'm one of enjoying what I do. After all these 30 years, I'm still very motivated about kind of getting up and helping people solve problems, whether it be from a hardware perspective or a software technologies perspective. And that's where GTAC came in. So it was kind of like the moons aligned, let's say, because GTAC is very well known in the industry for over 35 years in making rugged computing. And automotive is definitely one of their key sectors. So if you ask OEMs about GTAC, they'll say, great organization. They do rugged computing. They really help us with some of our mobile IT strategies across the value chain. But what was probably missing was the software side. So being able to bring those two worlds together and really create this new initiative under my responsibility as global automotive director.
Oh, I love that sort of intersection between hard and soft, and drawing from all of that sort of expertise that you've obviously built up over that at that journey kind of to date. In terms of kind of where we are today, how do you think about sort of, you use the term, I think, digital transformation? Where is the industry on that journey, would you say?
Well, I would say at different points. From an industry perspective, of course, in the value chain, when we look at that, we're thinking about the engineering, the R&D engineering, what's to come next. We have the manufacturing assembly process. We have the whole logistics of parts moving right downstream to what we see in the service repair outlets. And of course, let's not forget the whole selling of vehicles and how that's been flipped on its head and changing. And I think the word that's often used is omni-channel. As consumers in other walks of life, and since we've been having smartphones, we've very much got used to working online or ordering things online or researching online and not always going to the physical bricks and mortar establishment. So I think from automotive, it was fair to say we're probably behind the curve. If you look at Silicon Valley and what they did, then they kind of really set the precedent there. So technology has definitely come a long way. Still probably in areas certainly to catch up, and we can go into some of that in a moment. But then you've got to then take on top of that. It's all very well an OEM deciding a strategy for its global network, but then you've got regional or national, cultural, regulated scenarios to come into play as well. So it's not easy, but certainly when we talk about the industry now, we talk about CASE, which is the connected vehicle world, albeit whether it's passenger car or whether it's into that commercial heavy industry world. The autonomous side, be interesting to get your thoughts on whether you would be happy to drive an autonomous vehicle. I think there's a lot of people on the fence there in terms of whether they would be prepared to do that or under what context, perhaps that last mile rather than the kind of highway driving. The shared aspect, younger generations now, can they afford to own vehicles? You read in the press, they certainly can't afford to buy a house these days as easy as it was in the past. So buying vehicles, one of the second or third most expensive things you could probably do. It's kind of, they're looking at new ways of using mobility to serve their purposes. And then, of course, electrification. Electrification, Well, I was having a debate the other day with an individual around, what will be the successful powertrain? Is it electrification as a battery electric vehicle, hybrids, hydrogen, e-fuels, and everything else that might come along? Even to the point, there's a rumor that the ICE engine will survive past 2035. You probably note that UK at least extended the term of where you can have ICE vehicles on the road and being sold. So lots of things going on, and as part of that, of course, artificial intelligence, mixed reality technologies will all play a really key role in the future.
And that's a brilliant sort of overview of kind of the challenges and topics and issues that we're all debating and trying to kind of work out. From your perspective in your role, obviously you're at the very kind of forefront, and you're there to basically support global OEMs and your customers on answering some of those questions. So how are you thinking about that as GTAC and as Russ?
Yeah, well, again, you as an organization, our organization isn't necessarily a household name. Okay, I mean, it's we're not in the consumer world as such. We very much business to business. We do, however, have a fairly big influence in the industry already for things. For example, a lot of the magnesium alloy die casting or aluminium alloy products that make up the frames for glove boxes or parts of the airbag or the spools on a seatbelt connector. We're supplying the tier ones. Okay, so we're in that kind of more mechanical and industrial side. As an organization, we're heavily involved in new energy. So we in Taiwan, we have the ability to generate hydrogen through our partnerships there. We're installing infrastructure out into the markets. We will be looking to assemble hydrogen commercial vehicles and do the whole transport as a service piece. So, fairly big topic and not one we've got time to probably go too far into today. But when we look at GTAC, the area that we really serve, or we have historically served our customers, is for those that are working in more harsher environments. So in this case, in this context, it could be in a manufacturing process, in the R&D engineering when they're in cold weather testing or extreme heat conditions, validation testing, calibrations. But downstream in after sales, you have two areas really. You have the workshop. If you've been into workshops, over the years, then you'll know that they're not the friendliest of environments at times. Fast moving, lots of tools around, technicians under pressure to get the job done in time, not always necessarily having the right level of information as well. And we can go on to a bit more about technicians and availability in a bit. But you also got the technicians that are out there in the field, either by the side of a highway recovering vehicles or in a muddy field repairing a combine harvester. There's all sorts of different examples there. So from GTAC's point of view, where we major and focus our energy is in that downstream after sales area. When it comes to the hardware and software related technologies and solutions that we have, we believe firmly in AI and augmentation and this area. So any technologies that we will bring to market have to really support that. And I can give you some examples if you like about what they may be. Well, we see it in three columns or pillars, if you like. In the middle, there's the hardware bit, which is, you can digitalize and transform organizations with software and the latest cool technologies. But if the hardware platform isn't fit for purpose and stable enough, then everything can come crashing down pretty quickly. And that productivity, efficiency, the visibility that you want as an organization so you can give your customers the best practice, best experience, satisfaction, so you can keep them for longer. That central pillar of platform is really key. We've just released a couple of AI-based devices. One is a tablet and a laptop. We were first to market with this, so we're very proud of that fact. And it's through listening to our customers and understanding that we have to have products that are right and ready for the future. From a software perspective, we see it in two sides. We have the process, the bit between the customer and the dealership, the bit between the customer, the dealership, and the OEM. How does that all knit together, especially when you've got legacy systems out there that frankly don't have APIs to connect? You're running disparate systems. It's all siloed. There's no way to measure and make the right decisions. Because of that, you can't give your customer real-time visibility, transparency as well, and that can break down some of the trust that's kind of historically been there. So we look at the whole process of workflows, from dynamic booking systems. How do you as a customer book your vehicle? Or a fleet company, do you want to talk to the dealership, or do you want to do it self-service? You want a zero-touch in experience. Could be one. We also use AI for in planning. So the whole technician workshop loading, understanding which tasks need to go to which technician based on skills, based on service bay allocation, based on special tools, courtesy vehicles, and this list goes on. And then we have the vehicle health check inspection area as well. All these things, with a certain degree, need mobile computing. They certainly need the AI to automate those processes, and the AI to also self-learn which technician is more efficient than another on a given vehicle of a certain age. So this is one side. And on the other side, we look at technical. And under the technical, it's even more complex, of course, because the amount of vehicles that are being released by OEMs today, either on ICE or in the new world of kind of hybrid BEVs, is significant. There's a lot of models coming to the market, a lot more entrants as well coming in. So as a technician, you've got a lot more that you've got to understand and need to use technical platforms more and more to rely on that. So we have a technology that takes all those technical systems and brings it into one technical portal using AI and generative AI to make sure that the information is presented in real time, and also guides the technician through that. We have things like remote assistance and guiding technical experts sat in headquarters. You've got a technician out there that comes unstuck with a particular technical issue. I haven't seen it before. The master technician's there. The old way is to fly in doctors, get the experts to fly in, great cost, time, and expense in terms of achieving that. Or you can kind of get your technical experts to be able to be accessible to those technicians in the field via technological means. And that could be through video technologies that we have as an organization and collaboration, or it could be through better training and guidance. So this is also really critical. One statistic for you, Justin, that you may be aware of is that there's, generally speaking, around 30% of the technical network leaves the OEM every year. That's compounded further by the fact that there is a typical shortage of technicians in the field. When they're leaving universities now or apprenticeships, are they moving into the area of automotive? Do they want to be mechanics? If you look at the vehicles now, software-defined vehicles, autonomous connected vehicles, these different technologies point into other industries as well. So, which one's at the top of the list? Which one's the most attractive for the younger generation coming through? So when you're fortunate enough to find a skilled technician or a technician that can fill those gaps, then how do you keep them educated, up to date, and really help them with that ongoing need for understanding the technical aspects and even some of the non-technical aspects of how organizations want you to operate there. So that's another area that we have a key focus on. And then we're doing cool things like using AI for parts identification on vehicles, and then pointing that back to parts EPCs to speed up that process and eliminate inaccuracies or body damage on vehicles. Taking a GTAC tablet, walking around a vehicle, scanning the vehicle, it then attracts the scratches, the dents, the bumps, and then you can price it up and push it out to insurance companies or to the customer for sign-off.
It's really fascinating listening to you because, I can't help but get excited about
what you're doing in terms of, you are genuinely inventing the future, disrupting the past, transforming the way the industry kind of works in what you've sort of been describing. And, to me, that sounds tremendously exciting. But then you've also said that the challenge is to kind of attract and develop and retain. How are you at GTAC, and how is you as you an individual? How are you overcoming that sort of skills challenge, I suppose, that is clearly part of a throttle on the opportunities ahead.
Yeah, well, I think if sometimes it's always good to look inwards and ask yourself the honest question. We preach to the customers and think, but sometimes do we adopt some of those technologies in house? And I would say that the old way of learning management systems or educating people on compliance or certain technical or say non-technical abilities. You're faced with a login detail to a big technical portal, and it's kind of help yourself, or you'll get pushed different courses along the way that you have to fulfill in certain times. But it's kind of a drip feeding, but not really doing it in a way that's right for the individual, because we all like to do things in our own way. So we're certainly, as an organization, looking at that and looking at better ways that within our considerable workforce, how we can give them what they need, make it more immersive, more interesting, and that they really get excited and appreciate this type of learning. One statistic for you that I won't quote the survey. I was reading one the other day where they did a customer survey with some 300 employees around their network and 100 that left. And obviously, the top reason for job satisfaction, you can probably guess, is something around the remuneration, compensation of how they're treated. Work-life balance is another one. Of course, we're all working from home a lot more now, so that probably addresses that area as well. But very high up on the list was educating, learning new skills. In fact, 47% cited that out of job satisfaction, that was really key. And that for me speaks volumes. Yeah, because if we want to retain our staff, we don't want them losing at 30% a year on year, because it costs the organization a lot of money. Customers don't have that continuity of familiar faces and people that understand them. So you want to keep them, and so I see that there's much more we can do, probably across all industries. But in automotive, I think because of the technical nature of what it is that the technicians are having to do and the ramifications of getting that wrong, just to the point where customer can get disgruntled and leave your brand or your network, and you never see them again, or you don't retain them through the after sales process because after warranty, they decide to skip off and go somewhere else because they're going to get a better deal. Well, if you do a better job of satisfying them and giving them that experience, vehicles are getting older. So you really definitely don't want to lose that customer after 3 or 4 years. You want to keep them for 12 years or into the future of the next vehicle and all. So I think it's the same. I think we spend a lot of time talking to the OEMs about the training departments, the academies, about what works, what doesn't work, that in some markets, the standards are far below what they are in some other mature markets. That's a big issue when you're trying to have a global brand and have that consistency. I'm from the UK, I've moved to Dubai. Do I get the same consistent experience when I go from the same brand in the different countries? Well, honestly speaking, no. I mean, it's there is a variance there, but there's a lot of catching up doing there. So I think we all agree when we talk to them that there's there's ways to make it better. How to do that? Well, we're all talking AI. Everybody talks AI. So why not use AI? Why not use augmentation or mixed reality technologies to figure out a better way of doing some of these things? So that's so just in a nutshell there, it would be things such as understanding the individual, giving them a syllabus or a course that is feeding them the information, the training materials in different formats, whether it be a game, gamification, whether it be some sort of role-playing exercise, whether it be micro learning assets, or more that kind of Netflix style of training that is a more conducive way of keeping them engaged. Especially the younger generations will probably take to that more and more. But it's also understanding at what, those cadence, how often you should be feeding the information, and using AI and the mentoring capabilities of AI to almost be that right-hand person, that person on your shoulder that's always there to help you when, you come a bit unstuck, or keep you true and honest in terms of on your training path. We see all those things as really, really critical to the future of how training will happen. But like I mentioned earlier with some of the other process systems that we have around planning, booking, VHC, this type of thing, it's really, you can't expect OEMs or dealer groups to change their IT infrastructure overnight. They've invested a lot of money. Some of those systems are working very well. So it's how we can, from a modular perspective, look at the gaps, analyze those, and recommend through a consultative approach a way to enhance what they have. So that may well be that we don't replace the learning management systems, but we add our solutions in to kind of just make them that much better.
And looking at this from an industry perspective is something that I guess you get to do in your role at GTAC. What in that role do you play around trying to get the industry to come together to try and kind of overcome some of these common challenges?
Yeah, it's again, this is really interesting, and I can tell you, I've kind of taken this approach for many years, and I work for an organization that, at the end of the day, we're here to create technology and help our customers out there. So we have a vested interest. It's not all for charity. There is an interest there, but the reasons why we do things. But we do listen to our customers, and we create solutions off the back of that. We're not just creating things in a dark room and thinking it might fit. But you can do that through webinars, podcasts, other marketing methods to try and get that method out there. But the way I find still, even though we're post-COVID and not everybody wants to get in their car, train, or even a plane to go to these forums anymore. From GTAC point of view, we feel quite strongly about this, and that's why we have a roundtable event that we host every year, and it's called the GATA event, or the GTAC After Sales Technical Roundtable, and that's where we will bring like-minded individuals from OEMs, either from an after-sales or a technical training background. We'll bring them into a room. We keep it fairly intimate, so it's invite only. We don't kind of broad brush this one, and we have some fairly strict policies on how many from each can attend. And one of the remarks that we always get is that we kind of work in this big brand, but we never really get the opportunity to have dialogue with others. Not that they're going to share sensitive information, but they have common challenges that every day they're sat at their desk or they're trying to solve with their colleagues. And this way that as vehicle manufacturers have alliances and things, it's kind of sharing those things that don't really give away the secrets of your organization, but help one another. So we're very keen to continue that momentum. We will be broadening that as well, and we'll be doing our first event in the US this coming year. We've done it in Europe over the last few years, and but the agenda is not about GTAC. It's about highly regarded individuals that have can advise on all sorts of trends, macro trends, specifics around how technology is really helping, or lean management best practice. And it comes together, and it's nice. And we don't keep people for too long. We kind of try and do these things within a day format, so they can come in, get what they need from the event, and take that back to their organizations, hopefully, and add some value.
I think that human connection can't be underestimated, right? And to look at that across, a sector, and be given that opportunity facilitated by you to work with peers is a phenomenal way to benefit everybody, right? It's a great model, and I look forward to kind of hearing more about the results of your move to this to taking that to the States. And that does lead me quite nicely into the sort of the human side, of this conversation, I suppose, in a sense. And we've talked a lot about hardware and software and technology, and we've talked about AI. Just thinking about the sort of the human kind of side of that as well. What have you learned over the years to be the kind of the critical skills, I suppose, in a sense, that you need to really succeed in this industry? And of course, there are hard skills and there are what people kind of call the power skills. But from your perspective, kind of what's in your skills playbook?
Yeah, I guess it depends on which seat you're sat in as an individual. We are providing technology solutions into this industry that we, for many years, see as as principal industry for us, and we've gathered a lot of knowledge that's helped our organization as well. So we've got the different seats within the organizations, but speaking specifically from a solution entity feeding into the industry, then I think the first rule is we're not we don't have this castle that means that we don't want to collaborate and work with others. We're definitely not experts in every field. We want to put together turnkey solutions or solutions that make sense. Sometimes that means we look outside of our organization to bring those together. It's really about from a consultative approach. There's no point us sitting around a table and just telling people how good our products and solutions will be. It's really, we need to understand what they're thinking, and not only what they're thinking, but what they're not thinking. What are they struggling with every day in their business context? And because they work in that environment, they don't always have the benefit to see what's going on the outside, or to link other ways to solve problems. So I think very much on that, we need to be curious and understand. We're all ultimately consultants when we're going in, because I don't expect any organization to give up their time to see me unless I've got something valuable to tell them and give them some insights into why we can help them uncover some of those issues there. We are humble. We as an organization, traditionally, culturally, we're a very humble organization. And for us, what makes us really kind of motivated is, doing a good job for a customer and getting that feedback. If a customer gives us a case study reference, then that's probably the biggest sign of us doing a good job. That they want to put their name to a document or a video and say that these guys here have really kind of helped us out. So I think that's right. I think anybody coming into the industry, you've really got to be curious about, obviously, how AI or the kind of mixed reality technologies can make the difference, and put yourselves in the shoes of all those different individuals in the value chain, and just really truly figure out whether it does bring value, or it's just, we say it because it makes sense to us to do so. I think individuals coming out of universities and earlier on in their career most definitely will be probably thinking that anyway. It will be much more natural. Perhaps the more mature employees out there need to open up and not fear these technologies, embrace them. And I think, everybody can certainly benefit either by your own personal usage or by helping create the solutions that help others. So, curiosity, be very open, embrace the future. Don't work in a silo. Understand that, we're part of an ecosystem. We play our role, but, our partners our customers, we all play a role ultimately in making this industry the industry it is.
You're in a global role. You're physically in Dubai. You mentioned that important sort of coherent sort of experience that ultimately you strive to help your customers deliver to their customers. Tell me a little bit about getting that balance right between that sort of process and consistency and coherence versus the different levels of maturity or market nuances that exist around the world.
Yeah, well, my role is global automotive. We have as GTAC again, quite a sizable organization that has offices dotted all around the world. We have heads of those operations that are running across industries. We have dedicated resource specifically for automotive in many of those countries as well. And we do that because we want to be in front of those customers. And, so we need to have that local ability to speak in the language of the customer and not expect them just to speak English because we haven't learned their language, or the cultural aspects of that as well. So my role ultimately is to ensure that I impart what I see as the trends, the macro trends, down into the teams that I work with within the company, not just in automotive as well, because if you think about it, every industry that GTAC is well known for, public safety, utility, telecoms, list goes on. All those have extensive fleets of vehicles. I was talking to a police department the other day that's got, for example, themselves, 8 workshops where they're getting all these vehicles coming through and they have the same challenges as you would do in a traditional service repair workshop. So it doesn't just apply in automotive. So I spend a lot of my time, updating my colleagues within the company to make sure that they have that they understand what's going on and the topics to bring to the fleet managers of these companies as well.
And you mentioned that that GTAC is not necessarily a kind of world famous brand, but equally, I do happen to know that you have recently appeared in a movie, a Netflix movie, I believe, under Paris. Tell me how that came about.
Yeah, well, I think it's not the first time. I think you do find that rugged computing, because of the kind of nature of how it looks, it's like it is rugged, it's chunky, it fits many films where they're action packed. So we've featured in many movies across the years. This particular one's quite interesting because it's all about the premise of a shark entering Paris in the Seine and going about terrorizing the individuals of Paris. So one of the heroes of the movie is using our device to keep tracking that shark as it's going around the Seine and obviously trying to protect the citizens of Paris and France. So it's really cool to see that. I've had quite a few people actually bring that one to my attention. So, and the question is, they say, is it shark proof? Well, if anybody wants to try and find out, then I wish them all the best. But no, it's a bit of fun, but it's good to get the product up.
It certainly is, and perhaps a future global automotive director may first have contacted you after seeing that movie. So it also could be a brilliant talent acquisition tool for you too.
Oh, indeed, yeah. It's the fun part of our role, because of rugged computing. They're designed to be dropped from 6 feet onto concrete and, used in the rain or in the direct sunlight or heavy vibration. So that's why all these industries love what we do. And they use it as their trusted platform to deliver their mission critical work out there in the field, no matter what that industry is. So tracking sharks is a new one.
I've really enjoyed this conversation because you've really you've tackled the challenges the industry is facing head on. You've given your perspective on it. You've also sort of really painted a kind of a dynamic future and the role that GTAC is playing in that. I guess just to kind of really bring our kind of conversation to a close, what I'd really like you to do is just think about the one piece of advice that you'd give to a young person who was considering entering this industry.
What would I say? I mean, I'd say if you're coming out of university and you see there's all these different technologies that are out there now, and all very exciting for the younger generation. And I think automotive is perhaps not the first industry you would have thought of around when you were thinking about software or automation or artificial intelligence. But within this industry, no matter which part of the value chain you care to go into, whether it is the R&D engineering, whether it's the manufacturing, whether it's downstream, within the workshops, there's all sorts of exciting roles now, and a chance to use technology and hone your skills. Electric vehicles is bringing a whole new dimension to the industry, and you definitely need to have a good awareness of working the electrification, high voltage, before you'll get let loose on those vehicles. So I'd say it's an exciting industry. It's going places. Automotive is the industry, but we'd rather call it mobility because it does cross over into many different industries, whether it be heavy industry, agriculture, construction, commercial vehicles, robo-taxis, or whatever that might well be. So I would say, if you're interested in AI, if you're interested in automation, if you're interested in delivering great customer service and satisfaction to the public and out there, then keep automotive in mind and definitely consider it.
Thank you for a great conversation today, and thank you for joining Bridge's Leap Forward series.
Thank you, Justin. It's been a pleasure. Take care.